Thank you so much, Chairman Scott, and thank you, Ranking Member Thompson, for holding this hearing today on the national food supply chain and the concerns that we have. I represent the 4th District in Iowa. This is probably one of the largest ag industries in our nation. We're number 1 or 2 whether it comes to soybean and corn production. And with that, I'd like to address a concern regarding fertilizer costs. This has been brought up already, but I'd like to ask Mr. Wells. Some of our farmers who have been able to guarantee fertilizer availability for next planting season have also reported prices being quoted to them that are 6 times higher than 2021. Mr. Wells, can you shed any light on the main factors that are driving this dramatic increase, and is there any way that we can mitigate this as we move forward?
Yeah, speaking specifically to a couple of products, nitrogen and phosphate, one of the feedstocks and one of the catalysts to make the products are natural gas. And of course, everyone knows the impacts to the energy complex. We've talked about that. Natural gas has skyrocketed in price, and it directly impacts the prices of those particular products. And so if you take into account weather, Hurricane Ida shut down a significant amount of production in the state of Louisiana, which took tons out of the marketplace. Transportation costs, getting things in a timely fashion. It's just been, I hate to use the word perfect storm, but it's been a perfect storm of high input costs, high transportation costs, shutdowns. There have been a number of turnarounds related to COVID that were delayed that took tons out of the market. So there's a number of factors that have led to the increase in prices.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're seeing. My greatest fear is what this does for the future. You know, when you have our producers putting in their corn and soybeans this spring, you know, obviously that input cost goes directly up to them, but it also then hopefully will, through the commodity prices, will increase, and then that cost gets passed on to the consumer. Do you also see these mitigating factors? I mean, is this a concern for you also in what you see as we move forward in that food supply chain?
Can you state that again, please?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I mean, if you look at future yields and future crop production and things like that, I mean, is there a concern when have such increased costs when it comes to fertilizer?
Yeah, obviously, anytime you have dramatic increases in costs for the farmer, it leads to widespread concern. You know, farmers, as has been stated, you know, buy at retail and sell at wholesale, so they're kind of caught in the middle of all that, and so they have to take prices, accept prices given to them on the retail side.
Yep.
So yeah, we're concerned about that.
Yeah, it's very significant. I agree. I want to address a comment made earlier by Mr. Cinco regarding renewable fuel standards and biofuels impacting soybean oil prices and availability. You know, you think about over the last decade, soybean production and processing capacity has grown dramatically, significantly. In fact, October, the WASDE report forecast soybean production at 4.4 billion bushels. That's up 74 million bushels from the year before based on the higher yields. While our farmers are projected to produce a record crop this year, the biodiesel and renewable diesel industry are using approximately the same amount of soybean oil that they did compared to last year at this time. So my question, Mr. Cinco, is, were your comments subjective? I mean, it seems like you're going after the biofuel industry, and I would need to ask you that question. Why?
Actually, so the way it is for me, I buy soybean oil twofold. I buy it on the market commodity, and then there's the basis, which is the transportation, refining, and all of that. Last November, typically for us, it's a dime a pound. It went to 54 cents. You cannot get quotes from vendors that you don't do business with, to competitive quotes, because they don't have the capacity to do that. They're telling us the shortage will be the next 6 months for sure. The refining capacity is at a premium right now. The refiners are actually going to build more capacity, but it's not supposed to go online until 2023. They're telling us that it's next year is going to be a terrible year.
Well,
my prices of soybean oil have tripled from
I just thank you for those comments, but I see it a different way. I mean, biofuels, obviously, just like everybody else, they have dramatic input, cost, transportation, all these things. And I just don't think that we should need to wreck an industry that is providing a great,
I'm
thing
not
for our
saying
climate.
wreck it, I'm saying delay it. Because right now, there are companies that I'm hearing that have booked their soybean oil for the quantities they need for a quarter, and they want it on June 3rd, but it's not showing up till June 6th because there's no drivers, the refining capacity.
Yep.
They're
Well, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Cinco. Thank you so much. And these are all big issues. And I'm obviously very passionate about the ag industry and how it affects Iowa. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I yield back.